Now, when it comes to self-tapes, one of the most important things I think that you need to consider is the fact that you're talking to someone else, or at least that's the way it should look like. Now, often with self-tapes, it's the case that there's nobody there. You're actually sometimes just talking to an empty chair in front of you, whatever. It's always good if you can to have somebody else there in the chair so that you feel and you are speaking to someone else. Now, that's not always possible. So what do you do in order to kind of get around that? And why is it important to make it look like that? Well, the first thing is that if you don't look like you're talking to somebody, it means that their reaction to you is not registering fully. And it will feel like it's a monologue that doesn't have much reaction, life reaction from somebody else, as it would do if you were in a scene, for example. So it's very important that you create the dynamic of what you would have in a scene, so that as you're talking to this person, that they are reacting back to you. Now, if there's nobody there, as sometimes the case when you're doing a self-tape, then you have to imagine that they're there and that they're reacting back to you. And how are they reacting? How are the things that you are saying going down with them? Do they approve of them? Do they disapprove of them? Are they smiling at you, frowning? What is their reaction? And to coin a phrase, acting is reacting. So the more that you can live in the moment, I know that sounds weird because there's not actually somebody there, but you still have to live in the moment as if they were there. Then it creates a spontaneous reality. It creates the illusion of first time as well, which is that you're talking to someone for the first and last time. You've never thought about these words before. These are coming spontaneously to you, and you're saying them to this person, and you're adjusting your attitudes, your reaction based on how they're reacting to you. And that's, I think, a very important aspect of self-tapes. The other thing is as well is that you need to think about the moments of big anger or big emotion, if you like, that begins to happen sometimes in self-tapes. So when there's big emotional reaction, like anger, enthusiasm, happiness, joy, elation, they have to be absolutely authentic because they are larger emotions. The danger is that without the other person there, that you kind of imitate what those emotions are, and they lack that real feel of authenticity that happens when they happen spontaneously, as they do in life when we're talking to someone. So it's really important that any big emotional reaction is really authentically done. It's got to be pursued with a relentless sort of desire for authenticity around the emotion. And here's another tip to kind of put in place, is that if you feel you get to that moment and the big reaction that maybe you thought you were going to get or that you wanted to have isn't there, and so that you have to play at a more subtle level or a lower level of that type of emotion, that's completely fine too, because people react in different ways, and it's not always that big burst of emotion that they have that is the only way to do it. Sometimes it's in those more subtle reactions or dialing it down slightly, because that's what you've got available. You can't give what you don't have at the end of the day. So I think that when it comes to self-tapes, those are important points. You've got to really speak to the person that's opposite you, and you need to watch for big emotion. And if there is a big emotion present, it needs to be really authentically done. You might need to use a sense memory, affective memory, or it can obviously through your imagination and spontaneous reaction to the person opposite. But if you get to it and it doesn't feel like it's there at that high level, then do it at the level that's present, because you can't give what you don't have.